Today, we're looking at a black ink by Pilot, Namiki Black. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, as always, there's timestamps down below so that if you're in a hurry, you can skip around. But if you got the time, check out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can follow me over on Instagram. And if you're new here, I would invite you to subscribe. I do a new ink review daily. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Tasha Spectrum with a music nib, wrote with it for a day, and used it to take my notes for this video. In order to have some standardization in my writing samples, I always use Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I do test other papers, but those will show up later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I'd originally picked this ink up as a sample, and it quickly led me to wanting a bottle. But one of the things I have to say is I absolutely love these vase bottles that Pilot has. To keep my writing sample consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade. It's a very light black. I really don't like how that looks. It's gray with the stub. The extra fine is quite a bit darker. It's an actual black. The extra fine has no feather spread, halo, sheen, no shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo, sheen, or shade, 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both shows no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. Tomoe River. No bleeding. Normal Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 stub has no feather spread, halo sheen. It actually has a couple of shade spots at the end of the words. The KI and the K are both darker than the rest of the writing, but the rest of the writing is very gray. Again, I don't like it in a stub. The extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade, 9 seconds to dry. The medium is just a little bit darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 15 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it and we didn't get it. Rhodia paper. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1, no feather spread, halo sheen, again a couple of shade spots at the end of both words, and it's coming across as very gray. Now the extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. The medium is even darker than the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade, 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it. We didn't get it. We do see that wetter pens seem to perform a bit better. I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the right is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we do see a line that really got in there quite quickly, but most of it's pushing its way up and really gathering completely at the top. The one on the left I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And we see a very dark, very permanent line across the bottom. It's really bonded with the filter paper. It pushes its way up as a gray, and we do see some of the black still at the top. But really surprising is there's this kind of red just above the grays and blacks, and then a very fine line of a purple. So there's a couple of other elements in this ink that help make it be very dark in its broad pens. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pen. I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it handles itself fairly well. The capital H has a little bit of feathering that's occurring, and there's slight bits of blowout. But on the majority, I feel very safe using this in a note-taking situation because I don't feel like I'm going to lose the important information. Water didn't do a whole lot to move it. Matter of fact, almost nothing. It's really not doing a lot. Water's not going to be enough. Pen flush did almost nothing. You really can't tell where the water or the pen flush were when I was trying to get them off this paper. It's really quite surprising. Now, the 1/3 bleach solution is removing a great deal of the ink. It's leaving this kind of browning behind. I haven't dealt with staining as an issue from the Namiki inks. Personally, I use all three of them, the black, the blue, and the blue black. It just shows that the chemical tests aren't 100% for what really does go on with the pen, but it's surprising how bonded with the paper it is. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Now I'm going to link a video where I show how I test it and how I calculate the data. Pilot's Namiki Black has a viscosity of 2.87, making it on the higher side of normal, but still normal. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Pilot's Namiki Black has an average dry time of 10 seconds, making this a fast-drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Pilot's Namiki Black, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. Now you can choose most any color really to go with a black. I went with a green, Birmingham Pen Company's Frank Gorshin Riddle Green. For the second writing sample, I used black and red notebooks and Franklin Christoph paper. Here we're taking a look at black and red notebook. Black and red notebook has no bleeding, no ghosting. Those spots are from transfer. They're not from this. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, no shade. That black is still coming across as very gray from the stub. The extra fine is quite a bit darker than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, and no shade, 4 seconds to dry. Medium is a little bit darker than the extra fine, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it. Last up is Franklin Christoph paper. We get no bleeding and no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. The extra fine again is darker than the stub, with no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, 3 seconds to dry. Medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade, and it is darker than the extra fine, 5 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation. We didn't expect it, we didn't get it, and that is all that I have for the writing sample. So what do I think of Namiki Black? This is a great dark black ink. Weirdly, when I write with it, it feels like it has a tendency to spread uniformly compared to the other Pilot inks when you see those reviews come up. I was just surprised by that, which means, just have that in mind when you're writing with it, especially with a super wet pen. So what pen and nib would give the best writing experience with this ink? If you're using a broad pen, just be aware of that spreading that I said I seem to universally encounter. Regardless of what pen you use, you want it to be very wet because it puts down a nice, dark, solid black line. And I think a wet fine is the best way to go with this ink. If you've enjoyed this video and made it this far, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give me a thumbs down and tell me why. Thanks for watching.